Hi everybody, and welcome once again to this week's Press Pros interview, our first person segment, a production of PressProsMagazine.com and sponsored by the Buckeye Insurance Company in Piqua, as well as the Coverman Dickerson Agency representing Buckeye in Troy, Piqua, and Covington. We emanate from Shelby County this week at Fort Loramie High School with a good friend and the head football coach of the Fort Loramie Redskins, Matt Burgbacher. Thanks for taking the time. Again, congratulations. Back-to-back 8-2 seasons, back-to-back playoff appearances for you. They said couldn't be done. You come here in a very short amount of time, done an awful lot.
Yeah, you know, and it all starts with the community that we have here. We have great kids, great support. You know, when they did bring me here, this is what they wanted. They wanted the playoffs, and you know, last year we were able to deliver with a couple wins and make it to the regional finals. This year we've been able to deliver a home playoff game. I know that means a lot. Yeah. We've been breaking film down here for all afternoon, and you wouldn't believe the number of people that's driven out here and getting things ready for Friday night.
It goes without saying, and I mentioned it before, how much you accomplish here. But again, when you look at last year's team, 8-2 last year, you had a great senior class. You graduated a lot of those kids, including Mitch Ratterman, who was one of the best all-around running backs and football players in Division VI football in this part of the state. And yet you come back this year, as we talked about in August, with a really new cast of kids, young kids. Running back by committee was your words back in August. And it says an awful lot about either the kids or the way you guys are teaching them football here to come back and have another 8-2 season.
I think it's both. You know, we have great kids here, and we did graduate a great senior class last year. But in turn, you know, we're going to have a great senior class every year because these kids understand, what it takes to be a senior and the leadership that they have to set as an example and stuff like that. And then again, those four other coaches I have out there. Right. Those guys, Dan Toby, Aaron Rose, Chuck Seaver, and Ryan Parrish do an outstanding job with the kids. I know I'm the head coach, but I leave a lot of the coaching up to those guys, and they do a fabulous job. And, it's just, we do have a new cast of characters this year, but, they're kids. And the biggest thing, when you make the playoffs, we had 3 extra weeks of practice last year. And I know all the kids that are playing this year, they had those 3 extra practice. They were, 3 extra weeks. They were on the scout team last year, which I know that can get monotonous and tiresome by getting beat up every day. But you know what? Those are 3 extra weeks that a lot of schools don't have. And, we use that to our advantage. Not that we're looking to the future, because we're not. We want to win now. But we know come next year, when you get those extra weeks of practice, you need to take advantage of those. And I think we did a nice job of that last year.
The one knock on your football team this year has been the fact of who have they played, strength of schedule. And I know there was a lot of anticipation for the Lehman game last Friday night, a game you lost 41-6. Finally, you get a playoff caliber team. I know your kids didn't play very well. I know it's a disappointment to you, but a bigger disappointment to them. Talk to us a little bit about what you learned about your kids after the game, and maybe more importantly, Matt, what the kids learned about themselves.
It was very disappointing with the way we played. As coaching staff, we were very disappointed. I know the community was, I'm sure they were disappointed, but, there wasn't anyone more disappointed than the kids. That's right. And I think that showed Saturday morning when they showed up. We don't have to be here, kids don't have to be here till 8 o'clock, but the majority of them were here by 7:30. And they know that coaches watch film in the morning in the locker room, and if they show up early, they can watch extra film, but the majority of them were here at 7:30. And, we usually don't start watching film till 9. We'll work out, we'll do our stuff in the weight room and run and do all that stuff, and then go. But they were here early, and they want to get it corrected. They want to prove, Friday night wasn't the team that, people have watched all year. We're not sure. We had a couple bad things happen, and we just didn't respond to some adversity like we should have. But all in all, who thought we would be 8-2 right now? We expected it. Actually, we expected to be. We wanted to be 10-0.
Well, the fact of the matter is, you lost to a very good football team. Nick Stoll does a great job over there, and that's a team of expectation right from clear back to the month of June. People were expecting them to be here.
Absolutely, they got. They returned a lot of guys from last year. And you look across the board, they just don't have 1 or 2 guys, that do it for them. They got 11 on offense and 11 on defense that do it for them.
They got a full house.
They do, absolutely. And don't play poker with Dick. He'll have the cards.
Dick's been at the table.
So yeah.
We'll be back with more right after this, talking about the 2010 Fort Loramie Redskins and their playoff picture starting next Friday night with a familiar opponent. They play the Marion Local Flyers. Right after this message from the Coverman Dickerson Agency in Troy, Piqua, and Covington.
The Coverman Dickerson Agency, with offices in Troy, Piqua, and Covington, is pleased to be the sponsoring Buckeye Insurance Group agent for this first-person interview. For farm, auto, and homeowner insurance, Coverman Dickerson is one of the area's fastest-growing Buckeye providers, with a history of service and competitive rates. And we're also an outstanding source of coverage for families with young drivers. For farm, auto, and home policies, call the Coverman Dickerson Agency, proud to represent Buckeye Insurance Group.
Once again, our first-person interview this week with the head coach of the Fort Loramie Redskins, Matt Burgbacher. We mentioned before the break you get a second crack at a team that's known statewide for their quality and what they've accomplished in the playoffs. Of course, that's the Marion Local Flyers. Another 8-2 team as they come in, played very well this year. Got beat by legitimate people. I mean, you know what they are. You played them last year, and I guess I'm not going to ask you to give away any state secrets, but what did you learn from that semifinal loss to them last year?
You know, what we learned is, you know, the level of play that, you know, Marion plays out week in and week out. You know, that's something that we want to bring to the table every week.
Sure.
You know, our kids, you know, just, you know, the whole aspect of football, you know, playing the game, you know, and how they handle themselves. You know, I know we only played them once, but, you know, we learned a lot, you know, just by watching that film. Okay, this is what we got to do, and we've watched that film a few times today already, and what we need to do to be successful, and what it's going to take. And then, you know, we got 3 trade tapes with them, and they're a very solid football team. But I'll tell you, there's a reason why they're that way. And you know, I've talked to Coach Goodwin a few times, met with him yesterday. We had about a 20-25 minute conversation. It was, I'll tell you what, you know, for a guy that's had that much success, you know, he's a down-to-earth guy. Yeah. And he is I love talking to him. I told him after the season's over I'd love to sit down with him and just talk football because, you know, and I know he would be very receptive to that just because that's the kind of guy he is.
Fact of the matter is, one thing you learned about from playing them last year, they hit a couple big plays on you.
Yep.
I mean, it was a pretty good football game until they got the big play downfield, through the air. Yep. I know that sticks in your craw.
Yeah, it does, and that kind of goes with our motto, with what we have this year of making the play, because they made the play last year. You know, for the most part, we kept their running game under control. But when you look at it, Griesdorn had, you know, 3 big passes in the game, and those games actually didn't have 3. He had every completion he had, almost every throw he had. I think he only had 2 or 3 incompletions. So he's, you know, he was very accurate. You know, but then again, when you look at the whole aspect of their team, you know, they're just a solid, fundamentally sound football team, and obviously that's a big reflection of Tim Goodwin.
You know, there's been a lot of people that when the word comes out, hey, you get to play Marion Local, they go, oh no, you know, because this is not good. I know, though, your attitude about this is an opportunity for us, because win or lose, we're going to take something away from this that's going to make us better. We're still a 6-year program, and you only get better by playing the best.
Absolutely, and that's exactly the way we're looking at it. This is a wonderful opportunity for us as a football team, as a football program, as a school, as a community. You know, who else? Yeah, you know, you could be playing somebody else, but you know what? We get to play Marion Local. We play them here at our house. We know the tradition. You know, our fans. You know, we've had football for 6 years, but they know the tradition that Marion Local has, and you know, it's a great opportunity to get, you know, a true statement win for us that we won.
You know, I'm going to ask you this: what are you going to do? Where are you going to put all those Marion Local people Friday night?
Well, good question. That's a great question, but you know, it's just you know, it's another thing. You know, you finish in the top 4 in the playoff rankings, you're rewarded with a home field advantage, and you know, we're not going to complain. You know, there's plenty of room to stand around the fence. The nice thing is we just got that done on the backside where, you know, we don't have bleachers up yet, but we got a nice cement pad. We're going to be putting bleachers in next summer. So, you know, I guess we've made that. We're hosting that playoff game 1 year too soon. But
you know,
I'm not going to complain about that.
You know, you mentioned before what winning means in this community, and it does mean a lot. A lot of championships at Fort Loramie High School, but I know they're very proud of what you've done, and I also know they're very proud of their head coach. I congratulate you. Great job.
Thank you.
You deserve it. You've done a great job here. Matt Burgbacher, the head football coach. By the way, I hope you get a couple more weeks of practice this year.
That'd be
If
great.
it works out, I know you'll take it.
Yes, sir.
Matt Burgbacher, the head football coach of the Fort Loramie Redskins. Again, this week's guest on Press Pro's First Person Interview, brought to you by the Buckeye Insurance Group in Piqua and the Coverman Dickerson Agency in Piqua, Troy, and Covington. Join us again next week for another edition of First Person. And until then, for our sponsors and Coach Burgbacher, thanks for watching us again on PressProsMagazine.com.
If you are looking for quality insurance protection from a reliable company, sold by professionals, in communities like yours, that's what you'll get from Buckeye Insurance Group.
Buckeye Insurance Group, insuring the heartland.
To find your local Buckeye agent, visit buckeye-ins.com. Buckeye Insurance Group, insuring the heartland.
Insuring the heartland.